Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we teach Nintendo to count to 3. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellis, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how's it going?
It's going so great. Can I tell you, it's going great.
Okay.
But can I tell you one thing that I don't know if I should be concerned about or not? So I have I have an Apple Watch.
Okay.
And
you should be concerned.
And it tells you, it's like tracking fitness stuff.
Yeah.
And so it'll tell you oh, you exercised. Those are exercise minutes. And so I'll just be going throughout my day, doing my normal things.
Not exercising.
No, which is just sitting on one chair,
right,
laying down on another.
Right.
And I'll look at my watch and it's you think that I worked out? It's for 2 minutes at some point today? Am I so out of shape that just standing up and walking over
is that
to
count
the couch,
as
is
working
that,
out?
And then, the watch is freaking out. It's the heart rate went up.
I wonder if it's if someone has hijacked your Apple Watch, working out for 2 minutes, and then relinquishing control of it back to you.
I feel like that's the most likely.
I think that's got to be what's happening.
It's probably a speed type situation where their own Apple Watch can't go over certain minutes of exercise.
Oh, like Speed the movie. Okay.
But they have to continue to exercise.
Right.
They're I got to get my minutes in. But my watch is going to explode if I go over because my watch has been hijacked by a terrorist.
So then they transfer it over to you, and they're Mark's never working out.
No, so he has plenty of overflow minutes. We're safe.
Right.
Just assigning them to him, and then this person's own watch doesn't explode.
Well, that's it. I think we solved it. It's Dennis Hopper. That's what's happening. And Mark, I'm sorry that you have to go through this. Speaking of things that I'm sorry people have to go through, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. Would you like to borrow it? You can. All you got to do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of Sonic Forces, the game card for the Nintendo Switch. You play it for as long as you want. You don't play it at all. You send it back. I pay for postage both ways. There may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in there. It's not a problem. It's a perfect borrowing program.
Highly recommended.
Get
on this list. Mm-hmm. Another thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Patrick and I appreciate it so much. We enjoy reading your reviews. Also, we just recently went independent as a podcast.
That's right.
And this is a great way for people to find our show.
We're out here all alone without our mommy.
Uh-huh.
She stepped into the mall, and now we're just wandering out here on our own. We're independent, Mark.
Insert that Les Miserables song that we don't want to quote or sample in any way because it's an independent podcast. We can't afford to be sued anymore.
No, that's right. Wait, well, which one? The one
on my own.
Oh, sure. Okay, that makes sense. I thought, what's the name of the one that they added for the movie just so they would have?
I don't know. I have face blindness, but for the songs that they add to movie musicals just so that way they can get an Oscar nomination for Best Original Song.
Wow. That is a very specific kind of blindness, and I respect it, Mark.
So leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. If you leave us a review on the US Apple Podcast Store, we can see it, and we'll give you a shout-out on the show. If you leave us a review anywhere else, we still want to give you a shout-out. Hit us up on Twitter. Send us an email. Let us know. And thank you so much to everybody who has left us a review.
A new development now that we are, in fact, an independent podcast. We have started a Discord server. If you would like to get on our Discord and have a chill, fun time with a bunch of cool Nintendo dorks, all you got to do is either email us or hit us up on Twitter and say, hey, I want to get in that Discord. We send you an invite. You come in, you chat with people. It's fun. It's chill. We're having a great time over there, Mark.
Yeah, please come join us. We'd love to grow our Discord society.
Yes, that's right. And if you are a member, if you're on the Discord, you are a member of the society. Frankly, if you're listening to the podcast at all, you're in the society. I think we can extend that to everyone who listens.
I think we should.
But yeah, Get in. It's a super fun time. We've got other stuff planned as part of our move to independence, but more on that, Mark, as it develops. But in the meantime, let's get into the topic of this episode. Let's get into some long lost, some missing Nintendo threequels.
We've got threequels on the mind.
We got it because we got them on the calendar. Like that's the issue, right? We've got Xenoblade Chronicles 3. We've got Splatoon 3.
Got Mario Strikers Battle League.
Mm-hmm. We've got the other one. What was
Bayonetta
it?
3.
Bayonetta 3, yes. And, we've seen Nintendo look, they've got some great third entries or entries with the number 3 on it, right? Super Mario Brothers 3, one of the best of all time. Metroid 3, aka Super Metroid. Again, just one of the best of all time. So, and Pikmin 3 is also, it's the best of the Pikmin. I think we got to agree on that one.
I believe it.
Thank you. But Mark, what if there were a couple scenarios where Nintendo only made 2 of something?
Yeah, it feels like out there in the Nintendo ether, in the fog that is the Nintendo's history.
Yes.
There are a few missing threequels that we want to shepherd back into the light.
Right. So what we have done now is we have both made separate lists. I've not shown Mark my list. He has not shown me his.
It's like we're preparing a magic trick.
That's right. Now, Mark, you and I have never met each other at all. Is that right? And we're going to introduce the concept of a third entry in one of these in a series that only has 2 entries. And what is it? What is a series? We're probably going to get loosey goosey with that. Yeah, we're just going to talk through what a third entry in these series would have been. Maybe also talk about why it doesn't exist, and all that kind of good stuff. I feel like we've got overlap.
We hilariously both came into this with 8 entries,
We both have 8, yes.
entries on our list. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I was surprised at how easy it was to put this list together for me because there are, I feel like, a lot of opportunities for threequels out there.
Yes. Should we tackle one of them? One that I don't even think is on either of our lists because the game already exists, but Mother 3, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Let's just put it out there.
Let's just put it out there, Mother 3. I feel like we did this when we were talking about RPGs that haven't come to the Switch yet. This is our obligatory. We have to bring up Mother 3 whenever we're talking about something that could even remotely lead us to Mother 3.
Recorded in the book.
Yep.
We have officially...
Ooh, the book. We haven't gotten the book out in a long time.
Yeah, we did it. We talked about Mother 3 in an episode about missing threequels.
Go. All right. So, Mark, would you like to start?
I shall. I'm going to start with Paper Mario. And
sell me on this.
Okay, so I know that there are more than 3 Paper Mario games.
There's like 7
today.
Right?
Let's see. Paper Mario,
The
Thousand Year Door, Super Paper Mario, Sticker Star,
Color
Splash, and Origami King. So 6.
I guess you could argue Paper Jam as well.
Oh yeah, I guess you could. 'Cause I haven't played it, but that's like the
No, yeah,
mashup
neither have I.
between the
Yeah,
Mario
it's
and the Luigi series.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it. So, and the Paper Mario games that I have played are Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, and Origami King. And I guess actually I've played Super Paper Mario on the Wii, but didn't like it. That's kind of like my Paper Mario and then Thousand Year Door are a very specific type of game that
Yes.
like they follow each other in a logical way. It's like I can see the progression from Paper Mario to Thousand Year Door, and then after that the Paper Mario series like
becomes something different.
they begin to experiment with each game. And, some of those are more interesting than others. I really liked Origami King, but it's a very different game from Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door. And I feel like there's a great opportunity to follow on to Thousand Year Door and kind of say, okay, in a world where Super Paper Mario was not the next entry,
yes,
what would follow Thousand Year Door in this progression of, like laying the groundwork in Paper Mario, elaborating on it in Thousand Year Door, and then what comes next? What is that missing threequel to this like Paper Mario trilogy?
Yeah, this is the Superman Returns. I know there are other examples of this, but where it's like, no, we just acknowledge the first 2, and then we make a sequel to those 2 movies. Yeah, I think that's very interesting because that's the Paper Mario series up to that point is being like I want to like simplified. I don't want to say dumbed down, but simplified. The numbers are very small. Um, like it's still very much a like regular turn-based RPG, right? Like has all of the recognizable mechanics of a JRPG at that time, and like this, they came later, but like of the 16-bit era.
Yeah, absolutely. And it, the Thousand Year Door takes those core mechanics of Paper Mario and just embellishes them a little, right? Like it's their second attempt
Yeah.
at this game. And, say whatever you want about the other Paper Mario games, they don't even attempt to do that. They go their own way. And I would love to see another shot at like a third one.
Well, and there's also like the thing about Paper Mario, the first two games where they take a Goomba, they take a Koopa, and they give them individual characteristics. And you're like, you are a specific Goomba, you're a specific Koopa. You think these ways, you have a job, you wear something a little bit different than the rest of the guys, and a character is born out of that. Whereas every Paper Mario game since Super Paper Mario has not been that, right? It's like if there are new characters, they are it's really just like a different Toad, and they don't have that much personality anymore. And I know that is something that the sort of fandom, the Paper Mario fandom, has missed, and it's probably been a large part of why I have not been engaging with the games since then.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there was something lost when they moved away from that.
Yeah.
It's dictated by Nintendo to intelligent systems. Like, that is the parameters in which they can work. But yeah, I do think some of that like personality was lost. Not that the writing has gotten any worse.
Yeah,
it's just
because the
like,
writing in the games is still very good and like funny.
But it totally is like they are just straight up generic Toads now, right? Whereas before they could be old people Toads or have different jobs and then outfits that match that job. Like
right.
Just by
we're hung up on jobs and outfits.
But just by the virtue of, like the generic versus the specific is always more interesting and memorable.
Right. Well, and also then like creates the potential for there being like future stuff based on those things, right? Like someone had to decide to put Wario in a game first. Someone had to decide to put Waluigi in a game. Not that much has come out of Waluigi, but like still, there's a starting point for all these characters. Rosalina, right? Like they were like, hey, we want a new princess for some reason, and now she's like a mainstay of the series.
Yeah, and it's not like I want to wipe out the other Paper Mario games.
No,
I think it's just time to.
Superman 3 and Superman 4 still exist.
I just think it'd be really cool to have like a third kind of capstone to that those first two Paper Mario games.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mark, well, we did not overlap on the first choice here, so I'm glad, and it makes me wonder, maybe we don't overlap at all. We definitely overlap on at least one. But so for my first pick, I'm going to go with the NES Remix series. We had NES Remix Volume 1, we had NES Remix Volume 2, and then there was a third entry that was sort of combining the two of them together and putting them on the 3DS. I say that does not count as the third entry. That's just the two games jammed together. So the NES Remix games are each of them are a dozen NES games, right? Or the most exciting, like buzzworthy moments from each of those games presented to you in bite-sized little accomplishments that you tackle one at a time, or sometimes in a series of like 3 or 4. You do a lot of boss fights. You do a lot of like collecting items for the first time. Really, it's just like a guided tour through everything that was fun about an NES game. And that honestly, like the first game has NES games like Balloon Fight and Ice Climber and Wrecking Crew, games that are Clue Land, right? Games that are largely impenetrable and like you don't actually want to play, and you're never going to put in enough time to like reach the ends of those games and experience like the cool boss or like the fun little challenge that awaits you later in the game. But NES Remix is like, nah, here you go. Like, try the fun part, and then when you don't succeed at it, try it again right away. And then eventually it gets to a point where it's like remixing like characters from one game are like in another game, and like, or you're like perpetually zooming out, or like the whole thing's upside down or whatever. And they have all these graphic effects on them. It's a really cool series, and I want to see a third entry.
Yeah, it would be cool. It feels like there's opportunity for them to do like start introducing 16-bit games, maybe some Game Boy games.
Okay, so I thought about that.
Uh-huh.
And do I want Game Boy Remix? Do I want Super NES Remix? Mark, absolutely. But I want 3 of each of those, you know? I just keep them coming. And I made, Mark, if you'll indulge me, I made a list of the 12 games that I want to be included in my NES Remix Volume 3. Now, at this point, there's a little bit of a disclaimer here. I know that all of the previous games were Nintendo first-party games. I go a little bit out. Mark, I go a little bit outside.
Fair. It's the third one. You got to mix it up somehow.
You got to mix it up somehow. Here's the other way I'm mixing it up. I'm taking some Famicom exclusives and putting them on here.
You're crazy for that one.
No,
but I'll allow it.
Thank you. The first game on the list is Joy Mecha Fight. The fighting game on the NES only came out on the Famicom. Second game on there is Star Tropics, because come on, gotta have Star Tropics on there. Third game, Devil Land. We don't have enough reasons to experience Devil Land. Pointing Devils. After that, the Mysterious Murasame Castle. Again, another Famicom only game that we didn't get here. Here's where I start to go third party. Final Fantasy.
Love it.
Dragon Warrior.
Yes.
And we're calling it Dragon Warrior, even though I know it's wrong. Mega Man 2. Metal Gear. Castlevania. Okay, what a great selection of games. I can already imagine the like Metal Gear. It's like hide in a box, right? Like then no one will notice you. Then I round out the list with Slalom, Popeye, and Kung Fu. All games that are not in the first 2 collections of NES Remix. Also, I wanted to, just as like the thing that you unlock later, and I don't know how it would work, but I want to see Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, Gumshoe, Gyromite Stack Up, and World Class Track Meet in there. And I know that like putting it all on like button controls ruins it or whatever, but like those are like for me, NES Remix is about repackaging experiences that you could have had on your NES in the 80s, and just being like, here's a fun little snippet of it. And even if you're just interacting with those like light gun games in a superficial way, and even for like 1 challenge or 2, like you don't have to do a whole set of challenges for it. I just think it would be cool.
That's a great list. Can I ask, not to put you on the spot?
Yes.
If you were to pick which part of Star Tropics would be like, you know, the moment that you want everybody to relive.
So many. But there would definitely be one like whole set where you are getting the worm to feed the parrot, so he sings you the song, so you can play the password on the giant organ in the church. That would definitely be one of them. I am sure you got to fight that octopus thing and beat it with a baseball bat. That's got to be one. Yeah, those 2 for sure. But the organ, playing the giant organ is like a must.
I never played NES Remix because it was on the Wii U, which I didn't own, but I did as part of this, like, oh my gosh, they're going to close down the 3DS eShop. I bought the 3DS version, and I look forward to digging into that someday.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to get into it. It's also just frustrating that none of those games are available on the Switch, just as is. Like,
I think they should add them to Nintendo Switch Online, personally.
Yeah, totally.
My next...
So we do not overlap on that one.
We don't overlap there
Oh
either.
my God, Mark. I love this.
My next could-be trilogy...
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin our streak.
...is Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Wow, the streak continues.
So we, of course, have Donkey Kong Country Returns from the Wii and 3DS, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze from the Wii U and Switch. Where's our third Donkey Kong? Like,
yeah, what do we call the series? Yeah, I guess that's it. It's Retro's Donkey Kong Country.
I kind of have just styled it as Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yes.
You know, even though Tropical Freeze doesn't have the returns in it. Although if you go back to our early episode,
don't do this. Don't go back to those episodes.
We
messed it up.
Yeah, we messed it up all the time. But yeah, it feels. I think they did an amazing job of feeling like part of Donkey Kong Country, like feeling true to Donkey Kong Country, and yet not copying Donkey Kong Country at all. But Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is such an amazing game.
Yeah.
It's such a good platformer. I played the Switch version like that has Funky Kong and has some other additions like an extra heart and all that kind of stuff that makes the game easier. The Wii U version is notoriously punishing. The Switch version is the one I would definitely recommend picking up. I loved Tropical Freeze, and I am not a glutton for punishment in video games because the game is forgiving enough that if you want the punishment, you can have it.
Yeah.
But if you just want to have a good time on with an amazing platformer, the music is so
Oh, the music
good.
rules. Well, and also the level variety in
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, where like, the first one you start off and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna get like jungly whatever all over again. And no, they're all different. They're all cool. The personalities and the implied stories going on in the background all rule.
And so I want a third one.
Yeah.
I think those games were on the first one is fun. They were on such an upward trajectory from 1 to 2
Yeah.
that it just leaves me wanting like what a third one could be.
Does the third one get more Kongs? Can you play as more than 5 Kongs?
I think look, I am not a Donkey Kong 64 booster by any means, but I want to see Lanky Kong in
I want to
HD.
see Lanky Kong in there. Throw him in there. I want to see. I want to see both. So wait, is Kiddy Kong from Donkey Kong Country 3?
Yes.
Okay, so him. But then there's also the other baby Kong from Donkey Kong 64, who's also giant. They know it's. We don't talk enough about how these are two different characters.
They know one joke.
They know one joke.
And it's
What
to
if a
make
baby
the
monkey was big?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Let's get both of them in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, let's get a playable Candy Kong.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think it is time to evaluate Candy Kong and
Yes.
what Candy Kong can be.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's the Candy Kong Renaissance. I recently saw a Twitter thread that was like, we didn't deserve Denise Richards in the 90s because she was doing all of these movies that were so obviously satire that that were marketed as like straight faced, and they were referencing Drop Dead Gorgeous and Starship Troopers and Wild Things. But you can also throw that James Bond movie that she's in as like a fourth example.
The World Is Not Enough?
I think it's The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, that like they're all satire and crazy movies, and she like anchors them and plays them so straight and is great. I think that we should recognize the greatness of Denise Richards and Candy Kong in the same breath.
Well, I'm 100% on board. I also think that being featured prominently in one of these Donkey Kong Country in this third Donkey Kong Country Returns could do a lot because Denise Richards has a large filmography in which to point to. Candy Kong doesn't not
really.
a lot going for her right now.
No, it's true.
So she needs this third game so she can properly step into the spotlight.
And the Donkey Kong Country series needs this third game.
Yeah.
Mark, you're absolutely right. I want you to know that I just opened this can of Cherry Blossom,
Which is warm, by the way.
Yeah, no, I realized that when I was opening it, and was like, well, I'm committing. It's good. It has a fragrant quality.
It
like
does.
like a floral quality.
I've spent a lot of time. This is a sidebar. I've spent a lot of times the past few days trying to figure out what like the flavor palette of Cherry Blossom LaCroix is, and I'm settling on cherry, which anchors it, with I think vanilla. Hints of vanilla is like,
but it's not like a cherry vanilla Coke, which is a thing.
Yeah.
I think you're missing some sort of floral component there.
Yeah. Gonna take more time.
Yeah, we could go back to the drawing board. Okay, we're closing out that tangent. Let's close out the Denise Richards tangent, and now I will put forth. I'm just gonna go for it. Star Tropics 3
This one is
on your list. I knew it had to be.
Yeah.
As I was telling Sarah that we were making these lists, she was like, "People will be disappointed if you don't talk about Star Tropics." Star Tropics, Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2. The first of those games I really like. The second one is, I think, a clumsier execution of
kind of like notoriously cursed. Came out way late in the NES's life.
Is the last game published on the NES, right?
A sequel, possibly.
It's either that or Wario's Woods. I can never
yeah.
remember which one.
And then a sequel to a game that didn't sell that great the first time. front load Zoda for some reason in the title.
Yeah, I mean, is that just so it's like alphabetized at the end? So like, if someone's at the rental place and they're like all the way at the end, and they're like, I haven't seen it. Oh, here's Zoda. It's all the way at the end of the alphabet. Do you know what I mean? Like
I
it
wonder,
could be like an end cap.
I wonder if it was because Star Tropics didn't like sell that great that they're like kind of buried that it's a Star Tropics 2 thing and are just like,
Sure,
oh,
yeah.
Zoda's Revenge. Hopefully people
Star
think this is
Tropics
a new
2.
game. Yeah, exactly.
I have a subtitle for our Star Tropics 3, which I think we should move the Star Tropics back to the beginning of the title. I'm calling it Legacy of Jones.
I love it.
The original game star, Mike Jones. He's out looking for his uncle, Professor also Jones. Jones, obviously, as a surname, we connected to Indiana Jones. And if this is you're playing as a character who's like trying to figure out what these two adventuring Jones have been up to this whole time, what sort of damage they've wrecked as they've been sailing through whatever oceans and spoiling natural habitats and stuff. Like it's chasing them down somehow.
Now I love this idea. So the first game is very similar to like the original Legend of Zelda in the way that like the maps are laid out and the dungeons.
Sure, yeah.
And so for a third, I was thinking about this for a third Star Tropics. I feel like it would be interesting to see like the Ocarina of Time, like traditional, taking those like traditional Zelda, which now
And just popping them into 3D.
kind of, or like taking, I guess my thought was the first game was built on the structure of the original Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
And so for a third game, it could be cool to build it on the structure of like Ocarina of Time, what we now consider to be like a classic Zelda structure that Star Tropics never had. It would be too much to jump straight to like Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Like I want to
right,
see, like the Twilight Princess version of Star Tropics, where it's
I mean,
much playing with these rules.
The thing is, it's Star Tropics, so it should be the Wind Wakerification, right? Like there is an ocean to travel, right? Like, and you do that in the first Star Tropics, you are traveling the ocean. In the second Star Tropics, you're traveling through time. We're not doing time travel anymore. We're just traveling in the ocean. And I guess we don't need to take on the sort of graphical style of Wind Waker, but if there are moments where you are just like piloting the submarine from one distant island to another, I think that's rad.
Yeah, and for me, what I would like to see is just that like structure of get an item, go to the next place.
Yes.
Like explore this 3D
Meet some
temple.
people along the way.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like Star Tropics that is the right format for where a third Star Tropics would go for me.
Yeah. Great. I'm sorry that we broke the streak, and now we have at least one overlap.
Well, let me pitch one that I wonder if it'll be on your list.
He's got one in reserve.
I think it could be on your list, and that is Famicom Detective Club.
Not on my list.
So a series that neither of us had played until the remakes were released on Switch last year, 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly when that was.
Yeah, 2021?
2019 probably. I think it was probably pre-pandemic.
No, because we recorded our episode about it together in your apartment.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No.
It must have been 2021.
I think it was 2021.
Okay. Famicom Detective Club, when the remakes came on Switch, totally fell in love with them.
The missing heir and the girl who stands behind.
And absolutely showing their age, but so much fun.
Now, are you worried that there sort of is a third entry in this series?
I'm not, because
throw it out. Satellaview doesn't exist.
Satellaview, I'm just not counting it. And I think that with these remakes,
let's talk a little bit about what Famicom Detective Club is,
sure.
like what the gameplay of them is.
So they're point-and-click adventure games from the 1980s that the Switch remakes give a new graphical like sheen to, but are pretty much like the same games.
Yeah.
And so they have a lot of like quirks that could be worked out in a
generous
in a third game if you were starting from scratch. That a lot of times in those two games it is really opaque what you're supposed to do, or you're supposed to like visit a location, try everything, it doesn't work. You're just supposed to intuit that you leave,
Right.
and then return to the location, and then something changes.
There is one of those where you're standing out at a cliff where you have to leave and come back 3 times before, like, the game wants you to be like, well, I don't know what to do, and then it'll finally let you advance the plot.
And so those are very frustrating moments, but the like graphical sheen that they put onto the games is really nice, and it just feels like we're primed for a third
Yeah.
Famicom Detective
Yeah.
Club where they can work out, some of those problems with a modern point and click adventure game.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that. Yeah. I loved our time with Famicom Detective Club, and yeah, it's time. It's time. Look, did those games sell at all?
I think
They must have done okay, right?
I think they did for what they are. They must have
Yeah.
done
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Do you have any thoughts about because in the third game that was released on the Super Famicom Satellaview, you play as Ayumi, right? Who is sort of like the sidekick character
Mhm.
slash like friend of the victim in the second game.
And she's like you just play kind of as like an anonymous hero.
Yeah, but who is like an orphan? Like, he's almost too specific to be anonymous. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, well,
And he's the detective's protege. Oh yeah, and there's more.
there's more. There's more. So
There's a lot more. There's a lot
I guess
more.
we won't really get into it, but
Yeah.
yeah. Ayumi is way more interesting and way smarter
Mhm.
than you are, especially in The Girl Who Stands Behind. And so I would absolutely.
Well, you're just starting out, and the girl who stands behind.
That's true. That's true.
But she's in high school, so you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
She's a woman of action.
Yes.
And I think it would be cool to play as her, or at least to give her like equal footing in the series.
And then like her sidekick character could be that weird kid who's like too big. Remember that there's
The
like
one who like
looks like an adult.
The Girl Who Stands Behind, you're talking to him, and you think he's like a tennis teacher or
Right,
coach or something,
right.
and it's yeah,
and he's like, "No, I'm 15," and you're like, "What?"
lots of personality in those
Yeah,
games. Would
yeah.
be really fun to have a third one.
Mark, that's great. For my next pick, I'm not doing a game. I'm doing hardware. Nintendo has a weird kind of history of doing pairs of hardware. NES, Super NES. That's the same as the Famicom, Super Famicom. That's 1, 2. Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, 1, 2. DS, 3DS. That's where I want my third. DS, 3DS, the successor to the 3DS.
What would the gimmick be for the successor to the 3DS?
I don't even know that it needs one. I think it is just a next generation 3DS. Same basic. First of all, we need a place for that game library to go, right? For that eShop to go, for the dual screen experiences to go, because Nintendo has too many of them. The Wii U, the 3DS, the DS, and a handful of Game & Watches that are just gone if we don't have a dual screen system. You just get it with better screens on top and bottom, better battery life. They all get that little knob. They all get all the extra buttons from the new 3DS, and just make it a better, stronger version of the DS and 3DS.
I would love that. I mean, I absolutely adore the Switch, and I like that all of Nintendo's like software focuses on a single platform, but there is something about like that dual screen
Yes.
gameplay that I do miss.
Also, I mean, we talk about it all the time. If I can close that clamshell, throw it in a backpack, like that is a frivolousness that like that does not carry over to the Switch. Just closing it and protecting it is so meaningful and so like empowering. I just want that back. Also, I want to be able to put Game Boy and Game Boy Advance cartridges in it too. I want to be able to put any Nintendo portable thing into it and play it.
Do you think that if the Switch, do you think before the Switch was released that they were working on a successor to the 3DS?
Oh,
Probably
interesting.
like in like the new 2DS vein, in case the Switch was a disaster and they needed to put out like a, because handhelds, in the
Yeah,
Wii
it's
U
a good
era, like
question.
the 3DS was like an anchor. It kept Nintendo going. They shifted a lot of resources to the 3DS once they realized the state the Wii U was in.
Yeah.
Because they knew like, well, one of these platforms have to work.
Right.
And both had rocky launches, so let's put all of our resources into the 3DS.
And release the 2DS and the new 3DS XL and like all of that stuff.
So do you think that...
And the new 2DS XL too.
So do you think that they had something like a 3DS successor in the works in case the Switch wasn't a success?
Oh boy.
That they could be... Yeah, kind of like fall
they could
back
retreat.
On? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be really interesting to find out because like it does seem like it was an all eggs in this basket kind of scenario, right? Although the 3DS was still going and they were still putting out games on it, and sort of the reason that they stopped was because the Switch had swallowed their audience, right?
Yeah, like the Switch really cut off the knees of the 3DS.
Right. Like remember the Samus Returns, Metroid 2, Samus Returns, the remake on 3DS came out shortly after the Switch did like the same year, right? And it was just like no one picked it up. There was like you're excited about it because it's a new Metroid game, but it's also like no, we've moved on.
It definitely took them by surprise how quickly people moved to the Switch. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. I would love to. I can totally see the virtues of having a third system in that group.
And I know I've pitched that on this show before as like a legacy handheld console, but it's just too good of an idea. I didn't want to leave it out in the cold. A third member of the DS family.
My next picks are in the Super Mario series, and I feel like we need a third entry in the Super Mario 3D Land, 3D World, and something else.
Yeah, another, and I think we need a new word, right? Because I don't think we can't reuse Odyssey, we can't reuse Galaxy, we can't reuse Sunshine. Not that we would, but yeah, we need. I agree with this. It is not on my list. So well done. But yeah, we absolutely need this.
Well,
those games are too good.
I know that you were saying we need a new like descriptor.
You think we don't?
Well, I was gonna say because this had not come to mind, but I also have Super Mario Galaxy on my list because that's another.
I have Super Mario Galaxy on my list as well.
Other...
We will get to there. We will get there in a minute, and we're not combining them.
Okay,
I want two separate games.
Okay. Because I was gonna say you have Land, you have World.
No.
We're skipping Sunshine, and so the next, descriptor, the next location would be Galaxy in.
Yeah, and there are so many like Galaxy things that 3D World borrows. Mark, I don't like combining these things.
Well, I think you're right.
Super Mario 3D Galaxy.
They should be separate, but
yeah,
it's out there now.
Right.
There's
it is.
We've
we're
released
out
it. There's
there.
nothing we can do.
Okay. The thing is, we're talking also about Super Mario Galaxy 3 at this point. Not like these ideas have to both be discussed at the same time. I just want that freedom, that like open world-y quality. I want to be jumping around tiny little planets. I want pull stars. I want Yoshi to eat a pepper and run up on walls. Like, I just want more Galaxy.
I totally agree. I think the two can coexist. I think you
great.
can have a Super Mario Galaxy 3. I think you can also have a Super Mario 3D Galaxy.
Okay.
In the same way that
we're getting crazy.
I think you totally could.
Yeah.
The area where I think that there is a lot of crossover is that Galaxy is open, open course, but it is course based.
Yes.
And in the same way that like 3D World or 3D Land exists in a 3D space with freedom to explore, but still a narrow like corridor that you're running down.
Yeah, but that's degrees though, right? Like because Galaxy is so much more open and like explorable than it is course based. I absolutely agree with you on that. But those courses will introduce like entire worlds to run around.
Yeah, that's why I think that they could.
I
both
think
exist.
they're separate games. I think they're separate games.
Exist. And I wouldn't want Super Mario Galaxy 3 to be multiplayer.
Yeah, great point.
But
what about Galaxy? Or 3D Super Mario 3D Galaxy. Yes.
I think 3D Galaxy would be multiplayer. I think that's one of the fun aspects of 3D World.
Do we keep adding characters?
Absolutely. More Toads.
More Toads. Let's get the whole Toad Brigade in there, every single one. but they play in like the regular levels.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
But no. Who else would we want to add to 3D
Wario.
Galaxy? Yeah, Wario for sure.
Maybe Waluigi. I'm not married to it.
I'm not married
Daisy?
to it. Daisy, yeah, finally. Daisy's a little bit the Candy Kong of the Mario franchise. She needs her moment. Daisy really needs like a reason to exist.
She's no Denise Richards, that's all I'm saying.
She hasn't had the chance.
She hasn't had the chance, you're right. All right, okay, so put her in there. We need to see what she can do. And yeah, the Mario Galaxy 3, you're still just playing as Mario. It's single player experience. Yeah. Mark, let's stay in the world of Mario, because here's one that I don't have a solid pitch for, and I don't even know what I'm saying. Super Mario World 3. Super Mario World, one of the greatest Mario games ever. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Why is it even called Super Mario World 2? It's not in Japan, but it is for us, which means we are ready for a Super Mario World 3.
Yeah, that's right. And because those games are so different and they really just tacked it onto Yoshi's Island in the US for marketing purposes,
Yeah.
means the third
What is
one
this?
could be
It could be anything. It's very exciting. I mean, it's and this is one where I'm not gonna dictate terms, right? This is one where I'm like, Nintendo, the assignment is Super Mario World 3. I will take no further questions.
I do think if I were to add, additional notes of things I want to see, is totally different art style, right?
Yes.
You have Super Mario World doing one thing, you have Yoshi's Island doing another.
Right.
Give us something crazy.
Something totally different.
For 3.
I don't want to see anything that looks like a new Super Mario Brothers game.
So, to your mind, is this still 16-bit? Like, is this Nintendo of the 90s doing this?
Yeah, it
okay,
is.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and, I want them to take advantage of, all the weird, wacky things that the Super FX chip, no, I guess it's the Mode 7. Or did it use both?
The Yoshi's Island used
the Super FX. That's
chip.
right.
I think it used the FX2 chip, maybe.
Yeah, that might be. We don't know. Yeah, but I want them to continue to like push the boundaries of what the Super NES was capable of, but not. I don't want to see. I don't want to see more than like 2 polygons at once.
That'd be fun. Well, my next pick is GoldenEye 007.
Whoa.
So we have GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64.
Yes.
And then like 15 years later, we have GoldenEye 007 for the Wii, and there was a DS version.
Okay.
And so I think it's time for us to have the Switch version of GoldenEye 007.
Now, when they did GoldenEye 007 for the Wii, they changed it so it was no longer Pierce Brosnan. It was now Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Who is the Bond in this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe we just need to wait a couple more years for the new Bond.
For there to be a new Bond?
To be announced.
Because you think it would be no good to retread with Daniel Craig?
I don't think so. I think, it needs to be the same sort of like radical thing where you're like, whoa, well, because the reason that it was Daniel Craig, or one of the reasons I should say, for the Wii and DS version is that it was like licensed with Activision. Activision owned the James Bond video game license at the time.
Right.
But for the Daniel Craig James Bond. And so the Wii version, like the story of it is placed between like Quantum of Solace and maybe between Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace or something, or it's like right after Quantum of Solace. Like they put it into the Daniel Craig timeline.
That's wild. And it couldn't possibly be between the first 2 movies because he like rolls from one into the next.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it happened. Maybe it's just after Quantum of Solace, and then implied obviously to be before Skyfall. But I don't know if Skyfall existed when this game came out.
Wow. That's wild. Is there a way that we can put Denise Richards in this game?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Mark, that's a great pull, and definitely not one that I was thinking of, because I've like blocked that Wii remake of GoldenEye 007.
I never played it.
Yeah, me neither.
I also feel like a version of it came out for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but I feel like the Switch's like online ecosystem is at a place where it could probably sustain a online shooter in a way that I don't know was really. I think the Call of Duty games that came to Wii and everything I think they did fine, but it was definitely a very different experience than what you were getting on other platforms.
I would also say, I'm going back to the casting. Who is the James Bond? This is as good a time as any to do the like. You can choose which James Bond you want to play as.
That would be great.
Put them all in there.
Yeah.
No one has ever played as a George Lazenby James Bond
GoldenEye
in a video
007 Ultimate.
Yes.
They're all here.
And everyone is
Everyone
here.
is
And I want to see all the Bond girls too. I want you be able to play as any of them,
including Denise Richards.
including Denise Richards. That's how she gets in the game. Mark, my next pick is. Sometimes I take swings, sometimes I go up to the plate and I'm like, here we go. This is going to be one of those times. Mark, there's a sequel to Balloon Fight called Balloon Kid. It's a Game Boy game. It was never released in Japan. It's a US exclusive. It implies to me that we need a third Balloon Fight game, and the trajectory is to go from adults to kids. I'm pitching Balloon Fight Babies, where you control a bunch of babies suspended in the air by balloons, popping each other's balloons. And this could be a brand new game on the Switch, done in the sort of like Splatoon style, where you're a crew of 4 babies floating around in the sky, popping the balloons of other babies so they can fall into the ocean or whatever.
I have no notes. I think it's a great idea. I don't even really. Yeah,
Thank you.
I think that's a really, really good idea. I think that if there was another Baby Geniuses movie on the way,
okay,
that there could be some amount of synergy there. But I like this idea that Nintendo. One of the things that's really fun about Splatoon is that there is a lot of lore to the world. And I want that same attention to detail to a world where babies are being tied to balloons.
Yeah.
And
who's tying them to those balloons?
And shooting each other out of the sky.
Who's making the balloons?
Yeah.
Are people betting on it? There's definitely a gambling scene around babies knocking each other out of the sky.
Is it a world of babies? Or is it other?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, probably. Or is it like a Boss Baby universe where the babies are smart?
Yep. Or is it like a Planet of the Apes situation? I mean, maybe it is. No,
this is good. This is good.
And apes are tying human babies to balloons.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you meant literally
I meant a literal Planet of the Apes situation.
I thought you were saying that like the babies run everything and they have like humans, adults in cages and stuff.
Oh,
Planet of the Babies is what I'm posing here.
Yeah, two different ideas.
But
both good.
Both great, really. So yeah, that's it. Balloon Fight Babies.
I think this is actually the last one on my list.
Yeah, I'm also down to my last official one.
The Rob Robotic Operating Buddy.
Yeah.
Had 2 games.
Gyromite and Stack Up.
Gyromite and Stack Up. Enough time has passed. I don't want a.
Oh, you think it's enough time has passed?
I don't want a third.
40 years later.
I don't want a third game.
Right.
From that time.
Right.
I want everything we know about Rob now. All the technology at our fingertips. What could you do with Rob?
Yeah.
How could you bring Rob back?
Is it weird that we don't have a Rob the Robot Labo?
It is, because he's a Smash fighter.
No, not Amiibo. Labo.
Oh,
the
Labo.
The cardboard thing.
Oh, yes.
I would love to have a cardboard robot.
Yeah.
I'd have spent $80 on that.
Yeah, totally.
With spinning tops that are in place.
Maybe that's what it should be. Maybe we just figured it out. Maybe
maybe we did.
Like Rob game is Robotic Operating Buddy Labo.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. But also, so wait, where were you going before? Like, are you making a new robot?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's all. Forget my cardboard idea. I want a new robot. Can he read Amiibo?
That'd be cool.
Is he an Amiibo himself?
Maybe he's
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. One big Amiibo.
I just think Rob is an idea that can be revisited.
Yeah. Any idea what the gameplay of that would entail?
I don't.
No.
I want to be surprised. Just like they put a heat sensor or whatever in one of the Joy-Con.
There's a heat sensor in one of the Joy-Con?
Well, just they are measuring light. What is that called?
The IR sensor?
Yeah, the IR sensor.
Well, okay.
That was a surprise. I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
What little weird sensors? Maybe finally Rob holds your hand, but since his little pinchers are small, he's holding your finger, and that becomes the vitality sensor.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying maybe finally Rob holds your hand. Like that's a thing. That's a secret wish that you've had for 35 years. Like someday that robot's gonna be able to hold my hand.
I mean, I think that would be nice. You're sitting there, you're watching TV on
Yeah.
the couch, Rob is sitting next to you.
And
you
you
know.
just like feel a little like nudge at your hand, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
oh, it's all right, buddy. I'm here.
Yeah, I think that sounds nice.
I think that sounds nice too. I didn't know that was in your heart, and I'm thankful that you shared it with us. That's so good, Rob the Robot 3. My final pull here, and Mark, I need your help here, because you could argue that there already are 3 entries in this series, but one of them I want to disqualify. I'm not sure which one. I'm talking about Punch Out. Okay.
Mhm.
So either I want to throw out Super Punch Out as non-canon because they made our guy some like weird white blonde guy.
They like warp Little Mac.
Yeah.
It's very disconcerting.
I don't like it.
Uh-huh.
So either that is the rationale, so that Punch Out and Punch Out Wii are 1 and 2, or that Punch Out Wii is like a remake of the original Punch Out. Right, so it's not actually the 3rd entry; it's a remake of 1.
Got it.
So whatever train of logic we want to use, this is my pitch for the new Punch Out, and this is the name of the game: is the new Punch Out. We're playing on the new Karate Kid, which of course Hilary Swank is the new Karate Kid, a female boxing game. There are too many. Not too many. All of the Punch Out games, they're just all men, right? Like that's what the game is. Let's get some women in there. Mark, did you know that the first boxing match, the first woman boxing match in Madison Square Garden happened recently?
No.
The very first one. Hold on. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, and they sold out the Garden, and it was a big deal boxing match. The time was 30 years ago, but the time is also now. I want to see this. I want a new Little Mac who's, little, her name could still be Mac. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I also feel like we've probably exhausted all of the offensive country stereotypes for men,
Sure.
but we've
not even scratched the surface for women. No, I mean, we definitely have. Street Fighter's been at it a long time. But yeah, it's always weird to me that they don't go to the Punch Out well more, especially because people have such nostalgia for the original. I've never really been able to get into them, but I think a shakeup like this could be big enough to inject some like new energy into the franchise. Mark, you said that you had some that you wanted to toss out here.
Yeah, I have 3 like rapid fire ones that.
And I've got one. Well, I've got one throwaway as well.
They're more that I was like compiling this list and being like, I think there's only 2 entries in this series, and then realizing, oh, actually, I think there are 3. So just throwing them out.
Pilot Wings, is Pilot Wings on here?
Pilot Wings is not.
Pilot Wings crossed my mind, but then I was like, oh, Pilot Wings Resort doesn't count.
Exactly. Yeah, I had very similar things where it's like Tetris. There's the original Tetris. There was Tetris 2 for, the Game Boy, NES, and SNES. But I think Tetris 99 fits the bill as like Tetris 3.
Yeah. One, also, you're not going to pitch a better Tetris game than Tetris 99 or Tetris Effect. Like, they're tied for the best games ever made.
Yeah. Donkey Konga, only because there is a 3rd one, but it was Japan only.
Right.
And so Justice for Donkey Konga 3.
Yes.
And then the other one that I had in my mind was like these like Toon Link games. And so initially it was like Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks. Is there a 3rd one? But I think there is, and I think it's actually before, and I think it's Minish Cap.
Oh, that's interesting. I would have thought just Wind Waker.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking more like
the portable ones.
Because these come after. Yeah. I guess it could be Wind Waker, but yeah, like the portable aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, more Zelda games of any kind all the time. Yes, absolutely. Although, it's odd to me that you would wish on the world a sequel to Spirit Tracks.
Yeah, I do not like...
A game you loathe.
I don't like Spirit Tracks. I also haven't played it for like 15 years or whenever it came out. So I wonder if I would evaluate it with kinder eyes. I do really like Phantom Hourglass. And so I would like... a course correction from Spirit Tracks, back to more of like a Phantom Hourglass type game, I'd be into
That may be a thing that you and I need to revisit on the show.
Spirit Tracks.
Both of them. I mean, it's both games. I feel like we've talked a lot about Zelda games before, but I think whenever we're talking about those two games, we're reaching back into the recesses of our DS
For
memories.
sure. Man, if only that third
game, then we would have a reason.
or that third hardware member in the DS family.
Also that. Also, Mark, remember how good the main theme music is from Spirit Tracks?
It is very, very good.
I was working on queuing it up over here.
Yeah, just so good.
Yeah, so I like how could the game be bad?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. Okay. So then for my final, those were all good like throwaway picks. Mark, I like them all. Stay with me on this one. This is something that Sarah suggested to me. She said, "What about Star Fox 3?"
Oh yes.
Which there have been like 7 Star Fox games, most of them retelling the story of Star Fox 1, and we only recently got Star Fox 2, right? With the release of the Super NES Classic Edition, and then again on the Super NES Switch Online. A more ambitious take on the original Star Fox. That's what I want again. And sort of again with the same Super Mario World thing of like, I want it tied to the restrictions of the Super NES.
Yeah, I completely agree. That would be really cool, especially since we have Star Fox 2 now. It already has this kind of alternate timeline of where the Star Fox series could go.
This is like the Kelvin timeline. We're doing the Star Trek thing.
And so yeah, I feel like what would similar to, Paper Mario, like we talked about initially. It's like if you had just continued on that trajectory instead of the series becoming 3D with Star Fox 64, instead of doing something new with Super Paper Mario,
right?
What does that third entry look like? And I feel like Star Fox is a great candidate for that.
Did I throw out Kelvin timeline too cavalierly? Was that too hard of a reference to track? Do you think people talk about anything that way?
If you hadn't said Star Trek, I would not have known what you were talking about.
Right. Okay, so I just gotta dial that in. The references are a little too obscure, and I'm not even a Trek guy, so I apologize. All right, well, so those are threequels that we want to see, probably won't ever see.
Wait, sorry, is the Kelvin timeline from the J.J. Abrams movies?
Yeah.
I actually feel like that's a perfect reference for Star Fox because these three Star Fox games would definitely have the attitude of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, where everyone's quippy and they have like fast comebacks.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Everyone's hot.
Everyone's hot.
I would love to know if there are other third entries that other people would be interested in seeing. Mark, were there any that you like that were sort of like flitting on the edge of your brain that you didn't think to mention?
No,
here?
I kind of dumped it all into this.
We did it all.
Yeah.
Tetris is such a good pull, and I'm glad I always like. Is there a Dr. Mario one? Right, like Dr. Mario exists, Dr. Luigi, Dr. Mario Online Prescription. I don't know like what counts as different entries in the game.
Right.
I still want a modern Dr. Mario versus Tetris game. It'd be so good. But if you have one that you would like to suggest to us, please write into us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Mark, let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much for joining us. And please remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you should share it on Facebook or Twitter, wherever you are sharing stuff. We appreciate it when you do that. Join our Discord server. All you got to do is email or reach out to us on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. The show is at Nincart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Anthony DeLuca made our logo, and our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, I did flirt with Super Mario Maker 3, but I didn't know what it was. So Thank you for listening.